afternoon.
And it's on the in the back.
Right now. Let's see if I can find it.
Let you know your meeting is running right now too. 7 o'clock.
Yep. Okay. Let's call the meeting of the Human Affairs Committee to order. It is Tuesday, April 21st at 7 p.m. Can the clerk please call the roll?
I can.
Should I do all of this emergency stuff first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll do that first. Sorry. As a chairwoman of the Human Affairs Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other means. We are utilizing WebEx through the city's IT department for this electronic meeting. All members of the Human Affairs Committee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen into this meeting through dialing the following number, 978-990-5298, and using the password 273974. The public may also view this meeting on Comcast Channel 16. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public posting. Instructions have also been provided in the City of Nashua's website and publicly noticed at City Hall. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event that the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting shall be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during the meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Now, let's start the meeting by doing roll call attendance, please.
Okay. Alderwoman at large, Shoshana Kelly.
I'm here. I can hear everyone by myself, and I am attending remotely according to the wishes of the governor.
Alderman Gathright.
I am here and I am alone and I am doing safe distancing.
Alderman Clee.
I am here. I am currently alone, but my husband will be coming home after walking the dog. I am here because of the governor's basically stay at home and safe distancing.
Alderman Karen.
I am here. I am home. I am alone. And I am practicing social distancing.
And Alderman Wilshire, I am here. I am home alone due to the governor's order to stay at home. Okay, I believe also with us is Community Development Director Sarah Marchant and Urban Programs Manager Carrie Skeena. And we have a quorum.
That is cool. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. I apologize. I'm having a technical issue here. I am trying to, I believe we have okay, sorry. I have too many things open. So communications, please.
We have a communication from Nick Caggiano, Superintendent of Park Rec, regarding the 2020 CDBG request.
There being no objection, I'll accept this communication and place it on file.
We have another communication from Carrie Skeena, Urban Programs Manager, regarding Resolution 2029 CARES Act and amend the FY 2020 action plan.
There being no objection, I'll accept and place on file. There is a portion of this memo that we do need to take action on. So I don't know if this committee reviewed it, but there is an amendment to the citizen participation plan that we would need to make in order to implement our 2029, which we'll be taking up in the next section of the meeting.
Do we have an amendment, or is it just the communication that we got from Carrie Skeena?
So we just got this communication, and then the request would be to make the amendment so that we can move forward. So I can quickly go over what the change would be, but it says that they're looking for our citizen participation plan would hinder us from being able to get this money out. So they're looking for a reduction of 14 days to 5 days, to amend the comment period from 30 calendar days to 5 days, and that they'll run concurrently and following this virtual meeting, and that we wouldn't have to run public notices in the National Telegraph and no physical notices.
Okay, so I will make.
Did I get
that
everything, Carrie?
So
I think so. Go ahead, Laura.
I'll make a motion to amend the communication as you just read it, the communication from Carrie Skeena. Go ahead.
Is the motion to amend the citizen participation plan
The
as
motion.
outlined by Carrie Skeena?
That's the motion.
Perfect. Is there discussion of that motion?
I have it in front of me, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear on it as I'm reading it. It says that it says reduced 14 days to at least 5 calendar days is the big portion of it, and that we will not be having to run any kind of public notices, and that the plans will be submitted reduced from 30 calendar days to 5 calendar days and to run concurrent. That's the gist of everything. Okay, I have no questions. I just want to make sure that I was understanding that that's what we said.
Yeah. Yep. That is a good summation of what the amendments that we will need to move forward with the rest of the business tonight.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions? All right, the motion on the floor is to amend. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Alderwoman Shoshana Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Harry Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
And Alderman Wilshire is a yes, and that motion carries.
Great. Thank you for bearing with us and making that adjustment tonight. Is there any unfinished business?
We have none.
And how about new business resolutions?
We have Resolution 20-20 relative to the acceptance and appropriation of $69,566 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Transportation into Transit Grant Activity, Federal Transit Authority, FTA Operating Grant. I will make a motion to recommend final passage by roll call.
Is there any discussion on that motion? All right.
All ready for the roll?
Yes, please.
Alderman at Large Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Harry Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire is a yes. We have 5 yeas, and that motion passes.
Okay.
We have resolution.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. We have Resolution 2029 relative to accepting CDBG funding under the 2020 CARES Act, amending the FY 2020 HUD Annual Action Plan to reprogram existing CDBG funding and create a COVID-19 impact program. I will make a motion to recommend final passage.
Thank you. I believe that Sarah and Carrie are going to speak to this, but I will quickly sum up that this is something that has come up obviously because of the COVID-19 crisis. We are trying to get as much support to our community as possible. And so we have looked at the Cdbg funding, some from last year, and figured out a way to put together a fairly substantial fund to help the community. So I think Carrie or Sarah, do you want to expand on that?
Madam Chair, may I ask a question before we, just so that we make sure that we're clear? We're going to be voting on this as we just amended it. Is that correct?
What we just amended, thank you for the question. What we just amended was the citizen participation plan. So that is basically how we as a committee are working, and Lori probably knows more than I do, but it's how we work, how we get the money through and approve it. So we're saying because of the pandemic, once we've talked through all this and decide, yep, we want to do this, we want to make it easy to get to the nonprofits and the businesses.
Okay.
So instead of holding it back 30 days for public comment, et cetera, this allows us to push it through faster and get the money to people faster.
Thank you for the
clarification.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sure. Director Marchand, are you there?
Hi, yes, I am here. Carrie is actually going to give the overview on this. She worked very hard on the CDBG portion. I can happily answer questions on the revolving loan fund portion too, if those come up. But I'm going to let Carrie take the lead on this. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, so this is Carrie Skina, manager of the Urban Programs Department. Are you able to hear me okay?
I hear you great.
Great, thank you. So I am home. I have a house full of people. I'm not alone. I'm in a room alone and hopefully not interrupted. So we, like a lot of communities, were looking to figure out how we could respond quickly to the public health crisis that's unfolding and the economic impacts as a result of that. And through the CARES Act of 2020 that was signed into law at the end of March, it included additional funding to the CDBG program. And we have just shy of 400,000, so 390 and change in the resolution. In addition, and that is for the purpose of preventing, preparing for, or responding to COVID-19 directly. So activities that we fund using that money have to have a direct connection to doing those things. Because that was, just under 400,000, we wanted to ensure that we had enough of an impact, and it made sense to look at our current portfolio and see what activities maybe were either lagging and looked like they might not go forward, or in the case of a lot of them had completed, but they came in under budget. And so that the resolution before you does two things. It accepts the CARES Act funding because that's a substantial amendment to our existing action plan due to the amount of funds. And then it also reprograms some existing funds we have. And then I believe Alderman Klee touched upon this. I think we would want to incorporate the adoption of the amendment to the citizen participation plan in this piece of legislation too, just so it's all tied together. And that came about because the CARES Act again had language in there that allowed us to expedite these funds and roll them out rather quickly. And then as HUD was issuing guidance just at the end of last week, they let grantees know that it had to be a formal change to your citizen participation plan. So that was the reason it wasn't in there to start with. So we're like a lot of people, we're trying to do this quickly. HUD is issuing guidance pretty much every other day, and we're trying to respond as best we can. They are encouraging grantees to move quickly and get this money out fast as they're kind of figuring it out at the same time alongside us. So in the end, what we hope this fund will achieve is, especially on the CDBG side, we're going to be looking to assist primarily small businesses, what we call micro enterprises, and those are 5 or fewer employees, which includes the owner. And we would want those to either be owned by a low to moderate income individual or be retaining jobs that are held by low to moderate income people or workers. And then the other side of it will be to support the nonprofits in the community who are on the front lines and have changed their operations to directly serve our most vulnerable residents during the public health crisis. One of the things that the CARES Act did, and I know there's been a lot of publicity on it, typically we're restricted to how much we can spend on those types of nonprofit activities. Normally it's 15% of our annual grant, and the CARES Act lifted that provision altogether. So there's no limit to the amount that we can assist nonprofits. But again, they do have to have a direct tie to the COVID-19. It can't, just be a loss of revenue, but it's recognizing that they are out there, responding, preventing, and trying to mitigate the effect of the virus. We hope to start taking applications at the beginning of May if everything goes well. And we are going to pool it with the revolving loan funds that the city already has. And I know Sarah can speak to that a little bit more, but in general, that fund already exists. There's about $450,000 available. And those will be for the businesses that don't qualify for CDBG. That would primarily be routed through revolving loan fund. And I don't know if Sarah has anything to add on that part of it, if she may.
Good evening, thank you. Just real quick, I don't know why I'm hearing feedback, sorry. The revolving loan fund is managed by economic development. Tim Cummings, the economic development director, is in charge of this fund. There is a revolving loan fund committee that we would ultimately use to go through all of these applications. The revolving loan fund would be a loan instead of a grant, slightly different than the CDBG funds. And what has happened with the CARES Act is that the interest rate that is standardized that can be charged has been brought down significantly, so that we can be a little bit more flexible there, and some of the repayment terms have changed. So those are the quick overview, but again, we're trying to keep this very simple. We're trying to keep the application simple, so that we can really turn this program and these monies around to the community and get them to those who need them most.
If I may, Madam Chair, just one more additional point that so we're mindful moving forward. Some of the CDBG funds that are included in the resolution before you tonight, again, they're current funds, balances that have been unspent, but they were originally put into the legislation that's tabled, which I believe is our 2026, and that was our annual cycle of CDBG that we were working on, which, we've collectively feel like we should take a pause on that until we can regroup and know what next year's plan is going to look like. But when we get to talking about that again, I just want to point out to the committee that the funds that were originally included in that legislation to reprogram have been pulled into this one so we can get them out immediately.
You're muted. Chairman. Chairwoman, you're muted.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you for that. Do you have anything else to add, or shall I take any questions from the committee here?
I don't have any other major points. I'm happy to walk through the technicalities if there's questions.
I think Lori had her hand up. Alderman Wiltshire.
Thank you. I do have a question about the FY21 CDBG. You said you've taken some of the funds that were in that resolution and put them in this one?
Yes, that's correct. So in the resolution for FY21, there was 41,528 roughly that was identified to be used in next year's action plan. And those activities, that exact amount was pulled into this legislation so that we could get that out quickly. We're thinking that we've reached out to the agencies who had proposals pending to ask if if they plan to move forward with some of those proposals, given the changes that have happened so rapidly. A lot of them were not going to be fully funded by CDBG, and they would have had to find outside funds or do fundraisers. So we're still waiting to hear back from a couple, but we wanted to make sure that that it made sense to move forward with how that piece of legislation looked or how that plan looked, recognizing that not everybody is probably going to want to move forward with those projects. They may have other priorities. I believe Plus Company responded at this time that they would probably want to put a pause on that and withdraw. I know they were 15,000, and then there's a few others in there. The city wants to regroup and look at some of ours and decide, if those are still the priority or if we are going to need to, again, address some of these COVID-19 economic impacts. And so we feel like we would net out with the changes, but we just did want to point that out.
Can I ask a further question?
You sure can.
So of the 41,528 was money that was being reprogrammed, sort of like the money you have listed in here that's being reprogrammed. Wow, there's a lot in here. I was a little bit surprised to see, Carrie, the 70,000, no, 110,000 for the E4All program. That's a lot. That's what happened there.
If I may. We, again, when we were looking over the portfolio to figure out what was available to reprogram, some of the big ones that jumped out to us were the funds set aside for E4All. So their initial round of funding was a couple of years ago, or we're in the second year now. That was 70,000. And then in last year's action plan, they were awarded an additional 40. Unfortunately, they have had quite the trouble trying to get donors and the other portion of funding that they needed, because CDBG was not going to be the full amount to operate that program. And then they also want to make sure that they had 3 years of funding lined up before they launch a program. And so they were really trying to get to just under $1 million. And although they had been making progress and we've been in contact with them, we did reach out and ask if it was something that they would be willing to basically withdraw or forego in light of these emergency conditions. And, certainly that they would be encouraged to apply at a later date, especially when they've got all their funders lined up, and we could really hit the ground running with that. And we, again, I put it in the memo, but they were very gracious about withdrawing and recognizing that the funds could be used elsewhere. And they really wanted to hope that there were no ill feelings about that.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions from the committee? Alderman Clee.
Thank you. I kind of have a couple questions, and the first one is relative to what we were just speaking of. Do we need to amend the tabled before we can approve this? Because we have to. I'm just not. I'm just thinking about the process before we can say this money's available. Do we have to amend that to pull the money out of it? That's just my first question. And then my second question is for Carrie. You said that there was actually it wasn't for Carrie. I think it might have been for the repayment terms and interest rates. You mentioned that those are different. Can you elaborate with it? I know we probably don't want to go into a lot of detail, but I'd like to understand. You said the interest rates, you had more leeway with them, and that the repayment terms. So.
Yeah. So currently, or before COVID, the interest rates were a minimum of 6% set as prime plus 2 or 3% on the low end. And now, because of COVID, the interest rate is now at 0.75% plus prime. So that is a pretty significant reduction in interest. It isn't exactly what some of the federal programs are offering, but it is money that we hope to be able to turn around very quickly and should be helpful in the community. And so then it depends on if you're just looking for working capital and the terms of those loans. So there is more flexibility because of COVID than we had in the past.
So if I may, Madam Chair,
yes.
The the repayment terms, what, I guess I'm a little confused as to that. Do they give longer period of time to pay it? Or?
They have a longer period of time and there's the ability to delay the initial payments a bit.
Okay.
And so those terms that the revolving loan fund committee has a lot of flexibility in scheduling appropriately, which were not necessarily as much the case before this.
Thank you very much. So I guess my only hanging out question is whether or not we have to amend the tabled 20-26 before we can take action on this. Of course, we're changing.
Sorry, I don't think so because you haven't
Director
taken,
Marchand?
because you didn't take action on the other one. Certainly before you take action on 2026, it has to be amended, but that doesn't
Okay.
preclude you from moving this one forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was going to be my response, that because we tabled it and we were still we haven't fully pushed it forward, we wouldn't have to amend it until we pull it forward again, which we're hoping to do in the next month, potentially the month after that, depending on how everything falls in place. Alderman Wilshire.
Thank you. I have a couple observations. I guess when I took the role, I didn't have my list of people, but it looks like Alderman Liu might be with us on this meeting and Alderman Dowd. And with that said, I would rescind my motion for final passage because we have to amend this before we make that motion. And the amendment, is it all right if I read what the amendment is, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it's in the title. It says relative to accepting CDBG funding under the 2020 CARES Act, amending the 2020 HUD Annual Action Plan to reprogram existing CDBG funding, to create a COVID-19 impact program and amend the citizen participation plan to respond to COVID-19. And then in the body of the legislation, be it further resolved that the current citizen participation plan for the HUD Consolidated Planning Process 24 CFR Part 91.105 be amended to reflect the expedited participation provisions outlined in the CARES Act as follows. In order to expeditiously prevent, prepare, and respond to COVID-19 using HUD funding, the comment period for substantial amendments to the citizen participation plan shall be reduced from 14 calendar days to 5 calendar days, and that the comment period for draft consolidation plan, action plans, and or substantial amendments to the plan shall be reduced from 30 calendar days to 5 calendar days, that these 5-day comment periods may run concurrently following a virtual public meeting of the Human Affairs Committee, and no public notices will be required to run in the Nashua Telegraph, and that no physical notices will be posted in public buildings. Comments shall be submitted to the Urban Programs Department. All comments, questions, and responses will be posted to the Urban Programs Department webpage. Individuals who are unable to submit comments via email may call 603-589-3087 and leave their comment in a voicemail. So that's my motion, is to amend our 2029 with those amendments. My new motion.
Thank you, Alderman Wilshire. Are there questions on that motion? Okay, move to amend. Please take the roll.
Okay, Alderman Kelly, Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Gathright,
Yes.
and Alderman Wilshire is a yes, and that motion carries. So my next motion would be for final passage of Resolution 20-029 as amended.
Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Sure. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
and Alderman Wilshire is a yes, and that motion carries.
And Did that, okay. New business ordinances,
We have none?
tabled in committee.
Did you want to take that up, or did you want to leave that on the table?
We do not, no. So R 20-026 is on the table. I suggest we leave it there.
Perfect.
I just didn't know if you needed to formally read it. It is still on the table. All right, that brings us to general discussion. Hold on, let me make sure I'm not missing anyone's hand. A little bit different when we're not sitting in the same room. Does anyone have general discussion? Okay, I have a couple of comments, as long as everybody else is set. I just wanted to thank Director Marchand and Carrie for putting some hard work into this. And I've been in contact with them the last few days and last week as this plan was coming together, and they've been very thorough in how they put this together. And I think it's the right approach to helping our businesses and nonprofits right now. So thank you for your thorough work on that. That is all I had from a general discussion perspective. I know that there was a little bit of concern about this year's. We are on top of it and talking to the people who are applicants now, but because this is such a day-to-day crisis, not sure what it will happen, we're obviously going to keep it on the table, but want to make sure we do get back to that business as soon as possible. All right. Remarks by Alderman? None. Okay. Do I have a motion? Oh, we don't have no non-public. And then do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
The motion is to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Lee.
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
And me is a yes. That's 5 yeses.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Safe, everybody.
You too. Be safe.
Stay safe.